information shared on Girl Pray On It is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Although I am a licensed mental health counselor, I'm not your therapist. Unless, of course, you're one of my clients. In that case, I am your therapist, and I'll see you in our next session. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapeutic relationship between us. If you are experiencing emotional distress or a mental health crisis, please seek support from a licensed mental health provider in your area or contact a crisis line. Always pray on it, and also reach out when you need help.
But not to us. All right. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Welcome back to another episode of Girl Pray on It. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, how are you today?
I'm okay, Fatty. How are you? Doesn't feel nice, does it?
It doesn't.
It doesn't feel nice. I feel like why not just jump right into it, right? Our topic.
You seem to have done that.
Well,
Yes.
you know what I mean? I'm hot, but that's because I'm an actual fatty. I'm in a fat body. And I think it's okay to use the right terminology for the bodies that we're in, as long as it's not derogatory.
Yeah, so fat is a descriptor. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I would say fat is just a descriptor that's keeping me very hot in the midst of this heat wave we have going on in New York, right?
Okay.
Yeah, what about you?
You know, I think that growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, we'll talk a little bit more about it, but there is so much stigma and hurt feelings when it comes to using the F word. F meaning F-A-T, fat.
Fat, yeah.
And there's so much like shame and there's so much negativity wrapped up in that word that hearing it is like quite shocking.
Oh, 100%.
Hearing someone describe themselves as fat is shocking. Hearing someone call me a fatty is quite traumatizing. I think we are all in some way or another influenced by very, very harmful Western beauty standards that are white supremacist in nature
100%.
and are also very much rooted in thinness and looking skinny.
Looking skinty, right? So if you haven't grasped yet, our topic for today is fat phobia and talking about how it influences us in the Muslim community, how it influences us in our psyche, our mental health, living in the Western society. So how do mental health professionals address fat phobia when working with clients?
Not all mental health professionals are well versed in weight stigma. So I would say there's probably more than not, there's a lot of mental health professionals who are still stuck in a mentality of emphasizing or putting importance on like health, being healthy, which they might think of as being in a thin body. And I think a lot of like mental health counselors are still operating from a perspective of a very medical model where they're still associating like health and wellness with thinness.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of health professionals can be quite harmful in that way.
Yeah.
But I think the mental health professionals who are well versed in fat phobia and who understand that health is not synonymous with thinness, that people can be healthy at all different shapes and sizes.
100%.
I think that when we're operating from that framework, a mental health counselor can help their clients unpack the messages that they've received about thinness, fatness growing up, and how that has had a very negative impact on their self-esteem or their body image.
Yeah, 100%. And even within the Muslim community, I think oftentimes fat phobia has creeped itself into our community. And a lot of people actually associate thinness with actually being closer to Allah because you're taking care of your body, which means that you're thin, which, means that you are going to be able to give your body back to Allah in the best condition. That's what a lot of people say, rather than treating your body well feeding it the things that it needs,
Right.
moving your body. A lot of people associate thinness with God consciousness, right?
See.
Yeah.
And I can see as well in terms of there being a like fasting being a huge part of our
Mhm.
religion,
Mhm.
people using fasting that as a way of telling other people that they should be thin, they should look a
Mhm.
certain way.
Mhm.
And so I think that kind of fits in with what you're sharing about the God consciousness and
Yeah.
this idea that we must be thin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have multiple identities
Mhm.
that we could say are marginalized identity, being
Mhm.
Black, being in a larger body. I'm
Mhm.
curious what you would say to somebody who was maybe sharing these same identities, but was a young woman and was
Mm.
struggling with her self esteem and her mental health.
Yeah. I would say to that woman, decentralize whiteness, thinness, and men. And you will start to have a self-love that
Mhm.
you didn't have before, because oftentimes people who are in larger bodies are often told that you need to center the attraction of men in
Right,
order to be able to get a husband. You need to be thinner in order to be accepted by society.
right.
And you need to be thinner because being smaller as a woman is more desirable than being larger and taking up space, right? To that person, I would say decentralize these really harmful ideologies and work on trying to find that self-love. I know this is super cliche and everybody's like, find self-love, right? But that looks different to everyone. Maybe that's instead of trying to work out all the time and get into a smaller body, really try and look for, like, because you want to fit into certain clothes, go to the brands that are actually serving you,
Mm,
and are honoring your body.
yeah.
Go there so that you can start to feel loved and you can start to feel like you are adorning your body in a beautiful way, which the outside will help. I believe that like in adorning your body in a way that makes you feel loved will help you hopefully internally metabolize the ideology of self-love.
Yeah.
Feeding yourself things that make you feel good, and whatever that looks like, feeding yourself so that you are able to do the things that you need to do in order to get through the day. So trying not to constrict yourself to a certain amount of calories, but rather having a different mindset of, I'm going to feed my body what it needs in order for me to have the energy to
Mhm.
be able to move through the day
Yeah.
and maybe serve whoever I'm serving in whatever capacity that is. So that was a very long-winded answer, but
I love.
that's the advice I would give.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
really trying to decenter men, white supremacy.
So what I'm hearing you say is we need to really deconstruct
Mhm.
these systems in which we have been taught to idolize or strive
Mhm.
toward, and these
Mhm.
systems being white supremacy and the sort of westernized beauty standard.
Mhm.
In America, there is an element of thin privilege,
Mhm.
which is the closer to thinness that your
Mhm.
body is,
Mhm.
the more privilege you're afforded in society, because this is a society that idealizes thinness.
Right.
And I think one thing that I heard somebody say that I thought was so interesting, there is a lot of fat phobia
Mhm.
in immigrant communities.
Mhm.
Fat phobia is like prevalent in so many of our Muslim cultures.
Mhm.
And one thing that somebody said that I found so interesting was they've colonized your mind.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They've colonized your
Yeah.
mind in that, like, Western beauty standards, westernization,
Mhm.
white supremacy is so insidious
Mhm.
that even within these communities, there is still this attraction, this desire to pursue the white standard of beauty.
Mhm.
I think what you were sharing was deconstructing that
Yeah.
and really understanding, like, where is this fat phobia coming from? Where is that
Mhm.
weight stigma coming from?
Mhm.
And it really is coming from a place of how we have idealized a certain beauty type in America that
Mhm.
is white, that is thin, um, and it's had a massive impact on the entire world, really.
Yeah, I think one of the detrimental things that have has come out of colonization has been the constricting of what is considered beautiful. Historically, a lot of different communities across the world have identified being fat as being richer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Being more beautiful, being more desirable
Mhm.
because woman is taken care of, right?
Yeah,
And then colonization happened and flipped it on its head and said,
right.
actually, thinness is what we're going to identify as being taken care of
Right.
or being desirable.
You know what's so interesting? Even to this day,
Mhm.
I feel like there is a way in which like class is
Mhm.
so connected to like our body and
Mhm.
what is desirable
Mhm.
because as you had said historically, there was a time in which being fuller was associated with being wealthy, being
Mhm.
having abundance, being well taken care of, being prosperous. And now, like you said, it's flipped on its head in that people who are thin are actually considered the people who have the wealth and the status. Because if you think about it, it actually costs a lot of money
Mhm.
to maintain a certain body type.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
it's so interesting how class really is like class wealth is so connected to the idealization of a certain body type.
Let's talk about it because especially now we're seeing the rise of Ozempic and
Yes.
semaglutides and
Yeah.
trizepatides and all the ides and all the things. It's becoming so prevalent to see, especially celebrities
Yes.
who used to be in bigger bodies and are now in much slimmer and thinner bodies,
Mhm.
coming out after a couple of months of probably being on Ozempic
Right.
or one of those things. And they're just like, oh, I'm just eating healthier. I'm just in love with my body more. And it's
Yeah.
clear that no, you had access to this drug that costs thousands of dollars,
Exactly.
and you had access to probably nutritionists and a private chef who could make you
Yeah.
whatever, and that's the reason why you've popped out thin. Recently, I even saw like an Instagram post of Serena Williams, and she was our thick girl queen. She's always been known for having thick thighs, these really muscular arms. She's just been our body yada yada girl. And I recently saw a photo of her and she's much, much, much thinner.
Yeah.
And that's your prerogative. But it's clear that more celebrities are deciding that they want to access
Yeah.
Ozempic and things like that.
She's just one of so many. Like I
Yeah.
could name so many that is
Mhm.
same thing. And even people who were in this body positive space
Mhm.
who were talking about how their thickness or their beautiful like their bodies were beautiful, even those
Yeah.
same people coming out now having lost significant amount of
I
weight is
know.
so
Yeah.
disappointing.
I know. And it's not disappointing because they have chosen to change some aspect of their body.
Right.
It's disappointing because they were heralding this acceptance movement
Right.
and they were the leaders or the poster girl, poster child for loving your body. And now it seems like that is the opposite. So where do the rest of us look to, right?
Mhm.
And that's why I think it's so important to decenter even celebrities, right? Decenter celebrity
Yes.
culture because we actually cannot look to them for guidance or as a role model, and we actually have to start doing that internally for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the only way that we're going to start to fight fat phobia, fight these harmful ideologies that are keeping us mentally colonized.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So, what has been your personal experience with fat phobia, if you feel comfortable sharing with us?
Oof. Oh my God. I think it's been ingrained in me since I was born,
Mhm.
basically. I not to call her out, but sorry, I'm gonna call her out. My mom was, like, always on a diet, like,
Really?
growing up. Yeah, I don't remember a time where she wasn't on a diet growing up,
Mm.
as well as, like, my aunts and my grandma. And I think, like, from a young age, there was just I was always seeing the women in my life
Mhm.
striving toward thinness
Mhm.
and getting smaller.
Mhm.
And then when I was growing up, like, I just remember being, like, 10 years old
Mhm.
and looking at me and my friends, we'd go to CVS, and the
Mhm.
most exciting part
Mhm.
of being young in this really small town that I grew up in was, like, go going to CVS and looking at the 17 magazine and Teen
Oh,
Vogue, and we'd, like, go
yeah.
in the magazine section and look through the magazines and buy chapstick, and that was what was
Mhm.
cool if you were, like, 10 years old
Mhm.
and your mom left you with, like, $5 and you had
Mhm.
something to go do. And so I would flip through the magazines and wonder why I didn't look like the girls who were
Mm.
in the magazines, and became, from a very young age, hyper aware
Mhm.
of my body as it was changing and growing and developing and maturing.
Mhm.
I think I don't remember a time where I wasn't conscious of my
Mm.
body and what it was doing and what it looked like.
Right.
And as I got older and older and older, there continued to be more and more pressure
Yeah.
to look a certain way, especially before I was Muslim, when I was doing musical theater, which is a part of my backstory.
R
I was a huge lover of musical theater.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, she has some pipes on her.
Oh,
Yeah, some real
thanks.
ones. Yeah.
I felt as I was getting older and getting more involved with theater, more and more pressure to
Mhm.
fit that mold of
Mhm.
this Western beauty standard of being thin. And I will just say, like, my everybody is built differently, and
Mhm.
everyone has genetics and genes, and I was just always built with, like, a little bit of a curvier body,
Mhm.
and so it didn't matter what I did and what I didn't do, there was always just gonna be a little bit of a curve to me, I was
Mhm.
always gonna be a bit soft,
Mhm.
and I was just constantly fighting that, and so feeling so miserable, like, in my body, that no matter what I did, my body was not going to look like the girl on the cover of 17 magazine. I think there's so many ways in which I still feel really impacted by it, and I still
Mhm.
feel like I'm constantly trying to shrink myself or constantly striving to, like, constantly fighting myself and trying to be in a 17-year-old body, like,
Mm.
idealizing my high school body
Right.
and striving toward this body that I had so many years ago.
Yeah.
It's really taken me a long time, and I'm still struggling to realize that it's not gonna happen. I am
Exactly.
not 17 years old anymore,
Yeah.
and my body is not supposed to look like a 17-year-old
Right.
body.
Exactly.
I will actually share that I am 5 months postpartum. I've had a child.
Right.
My body is different now
Yeah.
than it was before,
Yeah.
and that's how it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
We're not supposed to look the same way our
Yeah.
whole lives.
Yeah.
We're women, and we're
Yeah.
supposed to change and mature
Right.
and get wider hips and get fuller bodies
Yeah.
as we mature and as we literally grow human life inside of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So I think having a baby actually really changed my outlook on this a lot,
Mhm.
where I think I came to the realization of this body is so amazing and has done such incredible things that I never imagined it could do.
Mhm.
It grew life inside of it
Mhm.
and then sustain life outside of
Mhm.
it. That is so incredible and remarkable. My body's going to do what it's going to do, and I'm going to love it and nourish it. And that is, like, what it means to love yourself and love your child,
Yeah.
because you have to give and love yourself if you're going to give and love to another person.
Mhm.
So I guess this is a really long-winded way of saying
Yeah.
that I surely grew up in a space where I was constantly striving for thinness and felt that this was the ideal look. That's what would make me beautiful, that this is what would be appealing to men for sure.
Mhm.
And it's taken me so many years to realize that this is so much of an internalization of Western beauty standards and of fat phobia, and that in order to be a good mom, in order to be a good mental health professional, I have to let go of these notions and work through these notions
Mhm.
and realize that, first of all, thinness is not a reliable predictor of health. You can be healthy at any size. Health is behavioral driven, health is
Right.
not like appearance driven.
The health industry would tell you different.
Capitalism.
Capitalism, 100%. And
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off, but I think
please.
that a lot of women have been fed lies by
Yes.
this health industry
Yes.
that tells you that you have to be a certain BMI. And we know
Yes.
that the BMI is actually based upon men and it's not actually based upon women. So a
Mhm.
lot of the studies that are done around health, about weight, are all based on men. And we know that
Right.
they have a completely different hormonal structure from women. All of that data, all of that science, while it can be applied to us in like in some regard, the research hasn't really been done to see what health really should look like for women specifically. Like we should know how hormones and the different hormonal stages that you go through impact your weight.
Yeah.
Even when, your period impacts how much water weight you're holding on to.
Exactly.
And we don't have enough science to tell us what how weight even if it is at all an indicator of health, right? Because the research hasn't been done, and when it was done, it was compared to men, right?
Right.
And I think that's a major problem that the health industry continues to have because what do we have that tells us anything about our bodies as women and how we're just left with a lot of questions on whether or not we are truly healthy. And so we're just buying what is being sold to us. Like the whole BMI scale is just rooted in anti-blackness, but it's just rooted in a male-centered
Right.
health system, right?
Exactly.
And I have such an issue with that, especially when I myself go to the doctor and they want to weigh you, they want to like talk about your weight, they want to talk about what you're doing rather than identifying if there's an issue, identifying what the issue is
Mhm.
before they say, okay, let's have you lose weight and then we'll start figuring out what your health issue. And I think this has been a conversation that so many women have been having online
Yeah.
about how to advocate for yourself
Mm.
in the health sphere and asking doctors to really, well, one, do their job and look deeper into why we are experiencing certain health ailments and not immediately attributing that to weight. Because I think oftentimes doctors are told that if someone is unhealthy, it's because of their weight first, and then anything after that, they can do extra tests. And it's still something that a lot of doctors, you go into the doctor's office, and that's their framework of
Right.
addressing serious health concerns. I don't know. It's really problematic. I think a lot of women end up not wanting to go to
Yeah.
the doctor's office
Yeah.
because they know what the doctor is going to say rather
Exactly.
than listening to them and listening to their concerns.
Exactly.
And I'm wondering, like, what can be done to try and change that framework of how we investigate health, especially for people of bigger bodies.
Yeah.
So that was a long-winded response,
I
right?
love it. It was
Yeah,
great. I
yeah.
mean, it's a systemic issue, right?
Mhm,
Like, it's really hard to know how we can even tackle this because so much of this is related to what we've shared about with capitalism
mhm,
and how there is a way in which like there's lots of hormones that are being injected into the food that we're eating that's
mhm,
like making us have chronic health issues,
mhm.
and there are food deserts that are out there that are based on disparities in
Income, right?
income
Yeah.
and that are inherently racist and discriminatory, that
Mhm,
there are so many barriers that people are experiencing, and our like health industry is so focused on addressing the weight issue
mhm,
without any preventative care or investigation
Of the
into
system
like the
itself.
system
Yeah.
itself and why these things are happening. This is like a little bit different, but similar. Women are or girls are getting their periods much earlier than they used to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why do you think that is?
Right.
Because there's
Exactly.
hormones in the food that we
Right.
eat.
Yeah.
It's a whole systemic issue and a whole barrier that we're facing that has maybe contributed to certain health issues. And us as a society are so focused on these industries are so focused on making money of selling us the weight loss drugs and the weight loss and this and this and this, rather than having investigations into these systems and why these like issues are arising.
Yeah. 100%. Any other questions you want to ask?
I want to hear a little bit about your experience with fat phobia.
Oh, okay. God, where did we even start? So
I know,
back when I was
right?
born, no, gosh, so my whole scholarly career was in predominantly white institutions, so PWIs. I think when I started to have a sense of my body, that started in middle school, and I was at a private school for middle school, and that's where I noticed that I looked different from other girls. And that's when I began to develop a sense of disgust for like my body, even though I was always in sports. My mom is a doctor, so we ate healthy at home. There was nothing that I could have been doing differently to look thinner,
Yeah.
but I still had an inherent, like I said, disgust of my body. And it was because I was comparing myself to these thinner white girls who that was just how they were made up genetically. But in comparing myself,
Right.
I always felt as if I was not desirable. And I went to an all-girl school. So whatever they tell you about sending your kids to an all one-gendered school and how that's going to help develop their sense of identity, it does in some ways, but in others, specifically for Black girls or women of color and people in bigger bodies, it can actually do a lot more harm than good. And I just started like hating myself and wanting to be thinner, wanting to be lighter. And like I said, I was a very active throughout my entire school career. I was very active. I was on sports teams, soccer, volleyball, lacrosse in high school. I was always physically moving, and I was like eating healthy, and there was nothing else that I could be doing to make myself thinner, but I still wanted to be thinner. And it also doesn't help that when you're in these predominantly white institutions, whiteness and thinness is what is attractive. And so when you're not getting any attention from the opposite gender, you think there's something wrong with you. Now, there is the added layer of me also being a hijabi in high school, being Black, being tall, being outspoken, right? There's all these other layers, but in my head it was, oh, I'm not attractive because I am bigger than these girls, and that is the reason why. I think that has been my framework of what is beauty for a long time, and I've had to unpack that. I've had to do a lot of self-work, and I'm not fully over that, right? I still think
None of us are.
right? None of us are. In my self-love journey, I've tried to come to the understanding that my body doesn't determine my value, and that I deserve to love my body both internally and externally as much as I possibly can. And that was the impetus for me creating my own clothing brand, which is still very much underway. And yeah.
Have you ever read the book The Body is Not An Apology?
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
Okay. It is a book by Sonya Renee Taylor, and it's fantastic. And it talks about how self-love and self-acceptance is the most radical thing that you can do in a society that wants us to hate ourselves because they will profit off of that, right? By what we were talking about before, selling us the skincare products, the makeup products, diet products. In a society like this, the most radical, amazing, wonderful thing you can do is to love yourself just as you are.
Yeah.
That book really did also change my outlook on things and my approach to self-love and healing from these messages that I grew up receiving around thinness.
Yeah.
Which is just like loving myself and taking care of myself is such a radical act toward the system, letting go of these notions of needing to be thin at all costs is the most amazing thing that I can do for my mental health and taking care of myself.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a book that we should all maybe check out and see.
We will definitely link that in the description.
Okay, great. And I think that's a great place for us to pause and maybe get to some listener letters.
Sounds great.
All right, great. Sounds good. We're back
Sounds good. Yep.
with our listener letters for today.
Yes.
And if you would like for us to read your listener letter out loud and give our opinions on the situation, you can send an email to girlprayonitpod@gmail.com and we might just read it on the podcast.
We just might.
Okay. So this letter is called Struggling with My Husband's Honesty About My Weight. All right. I've always been a chubby girl and never small, but after marriage, I gained around 20 kg. Now, what's 20 kg? Do you have?
I don't know. We're in America here.
Okay, wait,
We are dumb.
20 kg to
pounds.
44 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, 44. Right. I don't have kids, and weight gain has always been a struggle for me. My husband loved how I looked when I was chubby, but not when I'm this fat. Now that I'm undesirable fat, he has been clear that he wants me to go back to my pre-marriage weight. I know I should be grateful that he's honest about how he feels, and in some ways I appreciate it. But most days, like today, when he starts pointing out that I need to go to the gym, or when he sounds like he's ordering me to do it, it really hurts.
Yeah.
He said something like, "You've already lost weight. Don't ruin it anymore. You'll never move unless I push you." I told him that it never works when he pushes me. Whenever he nags, blames, or orders me around, I just feel fed up, hurt, and angry. On the other hand, when he talks to me kindly and encourages me, I find myself more willing to diet and exercise. Today, I feel torn. How can he tell me that I'm pretty and then at the same time make me feel fat and unattractive? I don't know if I'm being overly sensitive, but it's hurting me, and somehow I feel like I'm being blamed for the fact that we're still trying to conceive.
Okay.
Yeah. So, initial thoughts?
Well, I just want to say I am so sorry to this person who's writing in because it sounds like these comments can be really hurtful and harmful and are eroding the trust in the marriage and her belief that she's attractive and that her husband finds her attractive.
Yeah.
It feels quite heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Especially if you feel like your partner doesn't find you desirable. I think that can be really tough in a marriage.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is some fat phobia that is happening with this husband, and he is idealizing a certain body type. And what is more important, this fantasy of this idealized fantasy body type or the real person that is in front of you that is a human being? Did he marry her because he liked the way that she looked and that she looked a certain way, or did he marry her knowing that this is a lifelong commitment to a human being, a person that will go through all different kinds of changes in life, and all of us are in different phases of our life, probably going to gain weight and lose weight and change. We're going to get older and our appearance is going to change. When you marry someone, you know that they're not going to look the same way forever like you did when you got married. And so I think it feels so hurtful to be told that you have to lose weight or look a certain way to please the person that you're with.
Yeah. And for me, I first want to tell you to have that conversation with him about the way he talks about your weight and the way that you look. And then I want you to also encourage him to if he is trying to encourage you work out because that's something that makes you feel better, or that's something that makes you feel like yourself, it makes you feel good in your body, remind him that you do like when he encourages you, but you only like it when it's in a kind and approachable way rather than in a demeaning and demoralizing way. And so that conversation definitely needs to be had. And then if he continues to do that, then perhaps another conversation needs to be had about, first with yourself, about whether or not that's something that you can continue to live with, because I don't think I could stand to be with someone who is constantly reminding me that I'm not good enough, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about, right? It's whether or not he sees you as good enough. And so there's a deeper conversation that you need to have with yourself and then with him, if that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Especially because he's also bringing up the fact that her weight might be the reason why they're not conceiving, right? And I think to put that on your weight specifically is really, really nefarious. That's just really rude, because there could be a million different reasons why you're not conceiving.
Yeah.
It could be because of him. Honestly, we're seeing in studies that men's health contributes to how women feel in their pregnancy. So it is really important for the man to be in good health at least a year prior to you actually conceiving. If it is something going on with your body or his body, it's definitely important to try and figure that out. But weight should not be the reason why he's bringing that up. That piece about, well, you're the reason, your weight is the reason why we're not having a baby, feels like that is a much deeper issue than just his attractiveness, but rather like she's not good enough. Yeah. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking that we've talked about in the past that in marriages, it's not always what you say, it's how you say it.
100%.
And yes, obviously, it's important to be honest in a marriage, but not honest to a point that you are hurting your partner. And I think that it sounds like the way that he's phrasing things and wording it to her feels really shaming. She feels undesirable to him. She is feeling not good enough. The way
Right.
that she looks is not good enough to him. And that is so hurtful and demoralizing. And I think like like you said, a conversation needs to happen about like how these two people speak to one another in their relationship. One thing that I heard her say that is standing out to me, she said, "I know I should be grateful for his honesty." Girl, you are gaslighting
Did you
yourself.
ask for that honesty? Did you ask for it?
You don't need to be grateful for him being honest about him having issues with your body. I think like it's okay to have an issue with the way that he's speaking to you about your body, because it feels quite hurtful for
Right.
sure. And I think in having these conversations, positive reinforcement goes a long way in terms of her saying, "I really love when you encourage me, when we do stuff together, we go to the gym together,
Right.
we're like eating certain foods together, it feels really good. But when you speak to me like this, X, Y, and Z, it makes me feel like you're not attracted to me, like I'm undesirable. It makes me feel shamed." So I think a larger conversation needs to happen, maybe in couples therapy, about how he speaks to her.
Yeah. And that's the therapist's point of view. Me, I'm petty. And so what I would do is I would give it right back to him. Yeah. Have you noticed that you gained, I know we don't drink, but like you gained a beer belly. I noticed that you started growing some hair out of your ear and your nose. You might want to fix that up.
As a mental health counselor, I would not encourage you to do that, okay? Healthy communication. That two wrongs don't make a right, okay?
I know, yes. That's the pettiness in me, is telling you to tell him to give it right back to him. Let's look at your sperm count. Let's see if things are faring on your end. The healthy, well-adjusted, non-toxic side is very much saying, have a conversation. Like I said before, maybe this is something you need to address in therapy.
Yeah.
Or you could be petty and just, give it right back to him. Because, girl, honestly, when we get married, we know that the person that we're marrying will not stay the same.
Yeah,
We're getting older. We're gonna
exactly.
have gray hair,
Yes.
wrinkles.
We're gonna gain weight. We're gonna lose
Exactly.
collagen in our face.
Exactly.
Like, our bodies are gonna change.
Yeah, the expectation that you're gonna stay the same throughout your marriage is actually a ridiculous one.
Mhm.
And I invite your husband to really unpack why he thinks that you should look the same from when you got married. Did they say how long they've been married for?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
but let's just say you guys have been married for a few years, right? When I was 24, I very much did not look like how I do right now at 31.
None of us did.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be asinine to believe that your body just stays the same. And hormonally, we talked about this earlier, right? Our bodies are continuously changing
Right.
as women. He should really be doing some internal work as to why he expects you to change. And it seems like there might be a little bit of a double standard because I'm guessing that he's also changing, right?
Yeah.
Men change as well. So I definitely want him to be unpacking that.
Yeah.
And
Right.
to be having a conversation with himself about why that is, why he thinks that you're just not going to ever change. Yeah. Especially if you get pregnant. If you get pregnant, like your postpartum body is going to be changed forever. You won't ever get your old body back most of the time unless you have a crazy good snapback. But for most women, it's your body is just completely different, and that's totally fine because you were able to carry a healthy baby into the world, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all need to reflect on what our priorities are in a marriage in terms of, are you marrying someone strictly because of how they look? Or do you recognize that looks fade, looks change?
Yeah.
That what is really important in a marriage? I think we all need to ask that
Yeah.
ourselves. And I think I do want to talk about and get your opinion about attraction in marriage. And what would you say to people who say attraction in marriage is really important and I should be attracted to my spouse and my spouse should put in effort to be attracted to me?
Yeah, attraction initially is important at the beginning of any relationship because if we're doing everything the halal way, you don't know every single thing about this person, right? And the goal is to fall deeper and deeper in love with that person, with their personality, who they are, right? And the way that they show up in the world and in your relationship. And attractiveness does have to be there, right? However, and maybe this is my own perspective and it's not shared by other people, but I believe that the more present you are in your relationship, the more you show up, the better you treat your spouse, the more attractive you become to that spouse, right? Just based upon your character, who you are, right? And those qualities of the internal should be what grows that attraction as opposed to the looks, right? Looks and attraction is great at the beginning, but we all know that things change, right? At any moment, you could have some sort of health altering disease or something, right? That completely changes your body makeup, but internally, who are you? So I think it's naive to say that you're going to always be physically attracted to the person that you're married all the time, 100% of the time. But we have to remind ourselves that we are marrying them for the internal, right? And the external is a bonus. It's not the end all be all.
Right.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
Subway takes 100% agree.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I do think that it probably is different for men and women. I think what I see a lot for women is that attraction can be something very intellectual, that attraction in a marriage can grow. And I think for men, I see that men can be quite visual creatures and are like a bit more focused on the external. And what I would say is like, there still needs to be an unpacking of why weight is tied to attraction, because you can still try to look pleasing for your spouse in so many other ways, even just wearing something pretty around the house or something.
Right.
Like, I did my hair today, I did my makeup today.
Yeah.
There's so many ways that you can strive to look pleasing to your spouse that isn't tied to weight. And
Right.
I think when it is tied to weight, there is some fat phobia that's coming up there.
Yeah. And I would encourage you to find other ways for you to feel good about your external self, whether that's getting your hair done, getting a facial, things that make you feel good about your body. And, right, I also believe that, kind of connecting to what you said, you don't have to like completely let go of any type of semblance of getting yourself dressed up or making sure that you're presentable, but the body changes and we have to adapt and be flexible.
Yeah.
And I really want men to be thinking about where they're getting this idea that like women stay the same, because you're certainly not staying the same.
Although I do think it probably is easier for a man's body to stay the same than it is for a woman's body to stay the same, because they're not undergoing the same physical changes that we are. Our bodies develop and mature, and our bodies will literally grow human inside. A man is not going through all of those changes.
Right. Yeah.
So I think like it can be possible for a man's body to stay the same for much longer duration than for a woman who's going to be going through all of these massive physical changes throughout her entire life.
Right. Exactly. Anything to add?
I think that's all.
Okay. We hope that you'll give us an update on how that conversation goes. And again, if you want your listener letter to be read on the podcast, go ahead and send us an email to girlprayonitpod@gmail.com. That's girlprayonitpod@gmail.com. All right. All right. So now it's that time of the podcast where I, Aisha, rant about something that has been bothering me that day, that month, that week, whatever.
Yeah.
And since we're on the topic of fat phobia,
Okay.
I believe that all public transit is fat phobic.
Care to elaborate?
Yes. Yes, I do. Okay. So I believe that public transit is fat phobic because when I'm on the train, the seat tells you exactly where your body should be.
Yeah.
There's no spillage. Yeah.
There's like a carved out place for your booty.
Yeah, exactly. And your back, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing on the bus.
Okay.
And I think that's fat phobic because why does that need to be there? Like, especially if like anatomically you're just a big person, you're just tall.
Yeah.
And you just you spill over to the other side. I think that's fat phobic, right? And I just don't understand the purpose of having those carved out seats.
Yeah.
It's just to tell you, oh, hey, fatty, you fat friggin' person, why are you spilling out onto the sides? You know what I mean? Like, it's just meant to make you feel bad.
Just make it flat. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, it just needs to be a bench seat. It doesn't need to have like a specific space for your butt to go. Because if you've ever tried, like, you get on the train and then there happens to be like a seat and a half space and you don't want to be like right up next to the other person.
Yeah.
So you sit in the middle of the little like divider thing on the seat and it like is so uncomfortable.
I've done that before.
And it's really irritating. And like for me, I'm just like, why does this need to be here? And you know what is even worse is that specifically in New York MTA, the train will tell you in Manhattan that fatties are not welcome here. And you know why? Because in Brooklyn and in Queens, they have the bench seats. They have like those trains, they're all the blue seats. You know what I'm talking about? They all have the big. But why have we not been upgraded in Manhattan?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's an elitist, classist, fat phobic.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
And
wow.
I'm like, why do we even need to have that? Like, even when I'm on the bus, right? Why do we need to have a curved seat? Just make it flat.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a curved seat.
They think that they're making it more comfortable for us.
It's not more comfortable because I got thick thighs and they flatten out.
Don't lie.
Right? But they flatten out when you sit down. They don't just like, you know what I mean? It's just rude. I just think it's rude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the MTA is like basically falling apart. Anyway.
There's no excuse.
Okay.
This city has trillions of dollars, okay? And some
of funds that are being misused and
probably.
mishandled Adams.
Yeah, but if we have Mamdani, I'm calling on you specifically.
Free
change
buses.
these fat phobic seats. Why can we not all have the blue seats that are on the Brooklyn and Queens trains? That doesn't make any sense. Why do we have curved seats on buses? What? Just make it a bench seat. That has to also be easier for the manufacturers of those seats.
Yeah, so true.
Right? I just don't understand why we started doing that.
Well, I will say
Yeah.
that New York City is like totally the most inaccessible city for people who are disabled, like people who are not able-bodied. Like,
I mean, the buses are easier.
the bus is easier, but like the subway, like not every subway has an elevator.
Right.
Like, it's really like cramped on there. It's like really hard to get on. It's really hard to get off.
Even for people with like strollers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no way.
Last year I sprained my ankle.
I
And
didn't know that.
I was on crutches, and it was so difficult to get around.
Really?
I actually sprained my ankle running for the train.
Of course.
I sprained my ankle because I fell down the stairs when I was running for the train.
Oh my
And then
God.
after that, like, it was impossible to get around because there's so many stairs.
Right, yeah. New York City is only for the able-bodied, the skinny hoes, the skinty people. They don't want any of you fatty fats on our trains and on our buses.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
It just, I don't get it. Like, I thought this was a city for everybody. What happened to diversity makes our city so great? Not the fat diversity, apparently. Right?
Right.
Not even the tall diversity, okay? I'm 5'11". I really don't understand why there's not enough space between the rows of seats, too.
Yeah.
Like, I have long legs. Like, it's very uncomfortable, and then you're forced to sit at an angle, and it's just like, don't even get me started on planes.
This is the city for small, able-bodied people. Small people, too, because, like, even in, like, restaurants, in grocery stores, there's very obviously there's a space issue.
Yeah.
Because we're all living on top of each other.
Right.
And everything is just really narrow to try to accommodate as many people as possible in a very small space.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why whenever I see a fellow fatty, I'm like, good job. You are subverting the norms right now. You are telling people I deserve to be here.
You do.
Yeah, like,
You deserve to be here.
Exactly. And I'm not even the fattest of the fatties. Like, let's just be honest. Like, I'm a big person. Like, I'm near 6 foot, right? I'm a very big person, but I'm not even like the biggest of them, right? So I can't even imagine someone who's in a bigger body, how they would feel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and totally.
And so, you know, that's my rant, and I just believe that we all deserve to be able to get where we're going in a comfortable space. And specifically, I just want to call out the 57 bus that I was riding last night. No, it was the 5 bus, okay? The subway goes down, and you are going to go ahead and become an express bus or a limited bus or whatever. That's fine, but you need to announce it to the people, okay? You can't just be skipping stops and not telling people, because I'm over here pressing the damn button being like, I'm trying to get off. You're like, I'm not stopping here. How was I supposed to know? How you don't make an announcement? These bus drivers need to be stopped. They're a menace to New York society, and I'm sure there's other people who agree with me. Like, how dare you? I was on the bus here yesterday, right? And the bus driver went past the bus stop with people at it, and they were just like, hello?
Right.
Didn't care. Kept going. That's you know, a whole other issue, but like,
what do you think is going to happen when the buses are free?
Oh, God. Well, let's hope that things get better. And if the buses are free, I want to see more buses on the road.
I agree.
I want to see less cars.
Yeah.
Less taxis, less Ubers, right? I don't know. But all I know is that the bus drivers must be stopped. They are a menace. And they know that they are. And like, much love to the bus drivers, because I know it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
But like, you have one job: to stop at the stops when people ask you to stop, and to stop at the stops with the people at the stops.
Right.
Okay. This went far off my fat phobic, but you know what I mean? Like, the bus drivers can't do anything about the seats, but you can do something about stopping. Okay.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Even the subway train drivers are nicer than the bus drivers, because if they see you like about to go through the gates, they won't pull off. They'll wait until you get on. And I actually appreciate that from most of the train operators. Yeah. Anything else to add to my rant?
I think that's about it. I
Okay.
think, this is the price you pay for living in New York City.
I guess so. It's a hard life out here.
Pros and cons out here, yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to add. Bus drivers who don't turn on the AC, I'll see you in hell. That's it. That's it. Okay. Because that is a real offense. That's a real offense. It's hot in here and you know it and you don't care because you can open up your personal window, but the rest of us are sweating and it's not right. It smells and it's sticky.
Do you think they're intentionally not turning on the AC?
Yes, because
what?
Because
No way. It's
yeah.
broken because everything in the MTA is broken.
No. Let me tell you what happened. I was at the bus stop. I got on the bus.
Okay.
And then halfway they changed the drivers.
Okay.
And then the other driver that came on turned on the AC.
Oh my God.
So I know it's the bus driver.
Okay.
I know it is.
Yeah, we need to have a chat.
Yeah.
Whoever that was.
Yeah.
That's rude.
Yeah. I don't know. This might put out a hit against me because you never know. Those unions, they know how to get together. They're gonna be like, Aisha Numan, you are hereby banned.
You're canceled.
Yeah, you're banned from the buses.
You are canceled for
forever
being anti-bus driver.
I just think that
You're discriminating against bus drivers.
I actually think a lot of bus drivers are cool, especially the ones that let you get on and you don't have enough money. That's never happened to me, but I see it all the time.
I've been a free bus rider too.
Huh? Oh yeah.
I have.
That's never happened to me.
Just okay, this is the key.
Yeah.
You have to pretend to be fumbling around in your wallet. You're I can't find my card. I can't find my
what?
I don't have any money. I forgot my card. I don't know what to do. And then, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I appreciate those bus drivers, but those same bus drivers will drive straight past you waiting at a bus stop.
Apparently.
They will. So I just want to have a chat. I want to know why we're making some of these decisions, okay? And Zohran, I'm expecting you to fix the actual seats, the fat phobic seats, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. All right. All right. That's all we have time for. And I guess we will see you in the next episode of
Girl Pray on It.
Thank you for tuning in to the Girl Pray on It podcast. We hope today's conversation gave you something to reflect on. Be sure to follow us on both Instagram and TikTok at Girl Pray on It Pod. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, Girl Pray on It Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen, so you'll always be up to date with our newest episodes. Stay connected, stay encouraged, and as always, Girl Pray on It.